All right, so we are going to start by preparing our Play-Doh. So you're going to roll your piece of Play-Doh out so that it looks kind of like a carrot would. So you want one end to be a little bit thicker, and then it gets narrower towards the end, just like a carrot does. Make sure you're holding onto your knife properly, and then you're going to cut your carrot into about 4 sections, as equal sized as possible. All right, we're going to start with a large dice. So take one section of your carrot and you're going to cut one side and then roll it onto the side you cut. Cut the next side, roll it, cut again, roll it one more time, and cut the 4th side. So essentially at this point, it ends up looking like a square. This is how most cuts start. You'll notice that this square is actually the size of the large dice that we're wanting to do. So all you're going to do is cut it into smaller pieces, and then that should give you about the size of the large dice that we want to do. So you're cutting the carrot into square chunks. Next, we're going to do the medium dice, and we're going to start it the exact same way we did the large dice. The only difference with a medium dice compared to a large dice is that the medium dice is slightly smaller. So these pieces are a little bit big, so we're going to slice it down the middle first, and then I'm going to turn and cut it into smaller squares. So again, it's just another variation of the large dice, just smaller squares. And next up we have our small dice. So again, you started off the same way by cutting each of the 4 sides of the chunk of carrot. And then you're going to slice the carrot into smaller pieces because we want smaller squares, right? It's a small dice. So once you have your sides cut off, yeah, you're just going to slice it, and then you might want to flip it, slice it again. And then you can either do this individually or you can line up all 4 pieces, and then you're kind of cutting more at one time. So I'm just lining up the 4 pieces here, and then I'm going to cut them into smaller square chunks. And this is going to be your small dice. Here we have the baton or batonnet. The batonnet is just slightly smaller than the baton, but again, it starts off the exact same way that we did our dice. So you're going to cut off those 4 edges to make it into a square. Okay, then you're going to cut that square into longer sections. See how these ones are a bit wide? So those wider ones are the baton, and when you cut them a little bit narrower, that becomes a batonnet. Now the Julienne is quite similar to the batonnet, except they look kind of more like little matchsticks. So again, you're going to start by cutting off your 4 edges, and then you're going to cut your carrot into small sections like you did with the baton or batonnet, but these ones are going to be skinnier. Okay, so they're a lot thinner than the baton. So you're going to cut into smaller slices. And then now if you had a real carrot, you could stack them on top of each other and just cut down to minimize time. But because we're using Play-Doh, if we do that, they're going to stick together. So I think what I did here, I decided to cut them just one piece at a time. So you're going to cut it into smaller rectangles. And again, you want them to essentially look like little matchsticks. Now here you can see the difference between the batonnet and the Julienne. The Julienne is much thinner than the batonnet. Now for rondelle, these ones are really easy. You just take your carrot and you just slice it into round pieces. Of course, again, because we're using Play-Doh, it's going to look a little oblong once they've been cut because the Play-Doh smushes down. So I'm just kind of rolling them a little bit back into a circle so that they keep that rondelle shape. Now, I know this next one isn't on your knife cuts placemat, but I'm just going to show you how to do a quick mince. So when you're mincing, you're literally just cutting up the vegetable into very, very, very small pieces, or the fruit. So you can see here I'm using like a rocking motion back and forth. You're really just cutting it up. There's not really a rhyme or reason to it. I consider this to probably be one of the more fun cuts. You're just chopping it up all over the place. And that's pretty much how you do basic knife cuts.